Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 53 of the Unstoppable Entertainment Show, the most comprehensive entertainment news show on the internet. I am, of course, Nate Schaffner, otherwise known as the Unstoppable Nate. Welcome back. I hope you guys enjoyed the last episode. This will be the second episode, the last episode for today. I will be back next week. I'm going on a little uh, staycation next week, so I will be able to crank out more shows next week. Um, I hope you guys enjoyed last episode. I hope you guys enjoyed this show. Got a lot of cool stuff to talk about on this episode. But before I get started, I just wanted to remind everybody that if you like this show, go ahead and hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, spread the word, tell your friends. Also, if you have a question, a comment, or if you'd like me to talk about certain movies or franchises, you can email me anytime at the address listed in the description of this video. So, um, with that out of the way, let's get started with this. So, you guys have. So, one of the movies that I'm very much looking forward to, excuse me, as I get situated here. One of the movies, there's a movie coming that I'm very excited about, and that is Mike Flanagan's Exorcist movie. Um, that stars Scarlett Johansson, and it's going to have Diane Lane in it. I am so excited for this. It's not a sequel to anything. It's its own Exorcist um, movie. It's its own thing. And there's been more casting news regarding that Exorcist movie, and this is great. This is on Variety. This article is on Variety, published by Jack Dunn. Oscar nominee. This article says Oscar nominee Chiwetel Ejiofor has joined the cast of Mike Flanagan's The Exorcist, which is set for release on March 12th, 2027. Ejiofor joins previously announced cast members Scarlett Johansson, Jacoby Jupe, and Diane Lane. Flanagan's adaptation of the horror classic is set to be an entirely new story set in the Exorcist universe and not a sequel to 2023's The Exorcist Believer. Let me see here. So, Chiwetel Ejiofor. Chiwetel Ejiofor is one of my favorite actors. He was nominated for an Oscar for 12 Years a Slave. He was in Love Actually, American Gangster, Inside Man. He was in Venom: The Last Dance. He was in Doctor Strange. He played Baron Mordo in Doctor Strange. This guy is an Academy Award level actor, and he's one of my favorite actors working today. Oops, what did I do? Anyway, so plot and character details are obviously being kept under wraps, but oh my God, Chiwetel Ejiofor. I like, this is such a stacked cast. This cast is great. I have no idea who he could be playing. Maybe he'll be playing like the priest or a priest, or I have no idea. All I know is that this movie is being cast extremely well. I who's to say who he'll be playing? God, I just cannot wait for this movie. Um, I I've talked a lot about how The Exorcist, the original Exorcist, is one of my favorite movies. Is one of, I think, the greatest horror movie of one of the greatest horror movies of all time. And so I cannot wait for this. The cast is shaping up. I know they're going to be starting to film soon. I cannot fucking wait for this movie. So jump in the comment section and let me know your thoughts on Chiwetel Ejiofor joining Mike Flanagan's Exorcist movie. Okay, so this next bit of news is regarding another one of my favorite actors, Benedict Cumberbatch. This article is on Deadline, published by Andreas Weissman. This article says Oscar nominee Benedict Cumberbatch has been set to star in thriller Last Flight, in which he will portray a U.S. man who helped persecuted people find safe passage out of Iraq and Afghanistan. BAFTA winner Babcock and Very, from who directed Under the Shadow, is directing the movie. Let me see here. Which is based on a script by one of the inspirations for the film, Kirk Wallace Johnson. The article does go on to say that the film follows Ali, a young Afghan man who is fighting for his entire family's life to find safe passage out of Afghanistan before he is sent to certain death. To reach the border, he must put his trust in Kirk Johnson, an American stranger 7,000 miles away who is desperately trying to put the war behind him. Okay, so, I love, this sounds like kind of a political thriller, and I love these kinds of movies. I think there were a lot of these kinds of movies that came out in the 90s that we kind of took for granted, I think. Like the what's the Jack Ryan movies with Harrison Ford and The Hunt for Red October. There were all these kinds of political thrillers that I think audiences kind of we yearn for those kinds of movies today. I think, at least. And this movie sounds like that. And also, not to get too political about it, but I think this could reach a certain political audience and be kind of a topical movie for today, for the world today. I like this. A U.S. man who helped persecuted people find safe passage out of Iraq and Afghanistan. This kind of reminds me of Argo a little bit too, which was directed by Ben Affleck. This sounds great, and Benedict Cumberbatch is a great actor. He's classically trained, and I'm a big fan of his. And so this sounds great. This sounds great. So jump in the comment section and let me know what you guys think about Benedict Cumberbatch in Last Flight. All right, so this next bit of news is very interesting to me. One of my favorite actors, another one of my favorite actors today, these days is Taron Egerton or Edgerton. No, Taron Egerton, who was he played. Well, he was in the Kingsman movies. He also played Elton John in the Elton John biopic. He was in this movie with Hugh Jackman called Eddie the Eagle, which is great, and you guys should see it. And I love Taron Egerton. And he's got this new movie coming. This article is on Deadline, published by Andreas Weissman. This article says Thor and Mad Max star Chris Hemsworth is joining Taron Egerton and Zazie Beetz in New York crime pick Cockroach from producer Andrew Lazar. So Chris Hemsworth. So Channing Tatum was going to play. So Chris Hemsworth is taking over for Channing Tatum. Due to scheduling conflicts, Channing Tatum had to drop out, so Chris Hemsworth is supplanting him. Andrew Lazar, who was a producer on American Sniper, which is fan-fucking-tastic. Andrew Lazar, who was a producer on American Sniper, is a producer on this movie. It's called Cockroach. And it says in this article that Lazar has described this movie as Goodfellas. It's in the vein of Goodfellas and Scarface. This article does say that the synopsis reads, Cockroach is the story of a mysterious stranger who takes on New York's criminal underworld, transforming himself into a larger-than-life crime boss in a city where power is everything. That sounds great. You know, this idea of this concept of, you know, I want to take on the criminal underworld, so I'm going to become one of them and take it down from the inside. That sounds. I'm having trouble getting situated. That sounds great to me. Yeah, and you know, and I don't know who is going to be playing who. I will say so as far as this cast goes, I really like Chris Hemsworth. Outside of Thor, I think he's a very, I think he's an exceptional actor. You know, he was in Mad Max Furiosa. He is this new movie that came out this past weekend called Crime 101. It looks great, and I'm seeing it this weekend, and he looks great in it. He was in a movie that was directed by Ron Howard called Rush. You know, I know a lot of people identify him as Thor from the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but I think he's an exceptional actor. And, you know, Zazie Beetz, you know, she's great. She's great. You know, she was in the Joker movie. She was in Deadpool 2. What else was she in? Hold on. Let me That's the TV show that she was on, Atlanta. Um, um, she was in Bullet Train. Um, I actually, there was I, the Netflix movie that I worked on called The Harder They Fall. She was in that, and um, I was just, I remember being like 30 feet away from her and just like watching her, um, like prepare, like as they were prepping a scene, watching her prepare. I was just watching her prepare to, as they were setting up the scene, watching her prepare to go into the scene. I was just in complete awe of her. And she's uh, extremely talented and quite beautiful, if I may say so. Um, and I like her quite a bit. And this sounds interesting. I wonder who will be playing who in this movie. Goodfellas is, producer Andrew Lazar describes it as good, in the vein of Goodfellas and Scarface. That's you know uh, quite the comparison, if I do say so myself. Um, I like this. This sounds great. Criminal New York's criminal underworld. Being taken on from the inside. I dig that. I dig that quite a bit. So jump in the comment section and let me know about. Let me know what you guys' thoughts are. What you guys' thoughts are on um, Cockroach, about a mysterious stranger who takes on New York's criminal underworld, transforming himself into a larger-than-life crime boss in a city where power is everything. Starring Chris Hemsworth, Taron Egerton, and Zazie Beetz. What do you guys think about that? Okay, so it seems that the Netflix, Paramount, Warner Brothers saga is. I'm having an extremely hard time getting situated here. It seems that the Netflix, Paramount, Warner Brothers saga is not any close to being over. Um, I was talking about it in recent episodes. I won't go over it again, but basically Paramount Skydance is trying to edge their way into taking over Warner Brothers, and there's been some new developments. A new development. This article is on Variety, published by Naaman Ramachandran and Elsa Keselasi. I'm just going to read this article here. This article says Paramount Chair and CEO David Ellison is not giving up on his relentless pursuit of Warner Brothers Discovery and his plan to counter rival suitor Netflix. In an open letter sent out on Thursday to journalists around the world, including in the UK and France, Ellison outlined specific commitments for the creative community, pledging that the combined entity would produce at least 30 theatrical features annually while maintaining a competitive marketplace structure. In the letter, which was written in different languages and addressed to the quote, creative community, fellow film lovers and television fans, the industry at large, unquote, Ellison emphasized that audiences are best served by greater choice, not less, and by a marketplace that encourages the full spectrum of filmmaking, content creation, and theatrical exhibition, not one that eliminates meaningful competition by creating a monopolistic or dominant entity. Let me see here. So, I'm not sure that. So basically, David Ellison is making a plea to the creative community. I'm not sure that David Ellison knows what he's talking about, because he's talking about a marketplace that doesn't eliminate meaningful competition by creating a monopolistic or dominant entity. Well, if Paramount Skydance takes over Warner Brothers, that's monopolistic. Like, are you even aware of what the term monopolistic means? It seems to me, I've made a couple of notes about this. It seems to me that David Ellison and Paramount Skydance are so focused on buying Warner Brothers Discovery that they're not focusing on what to do at Paramount, at their own studio. They're so focused on, we want to buy Warner Brothers Discovery. Okay, why don't you focus on yourselves? Because as far as I'm concerned, if you look at I'm not going to, I'm not going to go into detail about it, but if you look at the upcoming film slate, the upcoming 2026 film slate for Paramount Skydance, as opposed to the upcoming 2026 film slate for Warner Brothers, the Warner Brothers upcoming film slate is a lot more interesting and a lot more appealing. And it just, okay, you're talking about a combined entity would produce at least 30 theatrical features annually. That is 30 theatrical features less than what you would have if Paramount Skydance just focused on their creative output. Like, if you put Paramount Skydance, if you separate the two, you're going to get 60. You're going to get 30 more. Why are you so focused on, like, concentrate on, because Paramount's not doing so well in terms of their creative output. Warner Brothers is doing just fine. Warner Brothers is doing okay. You know what I mean? And maybe Paramount should just focus on their creative output. And I'm not so sure that David Ellison knows what he's talking about in terms of a monopolistic entity, but David Ellison is pleading to the creative community. We really want to make this happen. It doesn't seem like what he's offering is too appealing, but that's just me. So I just wanted to talk about that for a second. This is quite the saga that has happened, and it doesn't look like it's. It doesn't look like it's going to. It seems like this saga is more rough than. It's going a lot less smoothly, I should say, than originally anticipated. So, I don't know. I just wanted to talk about that for a second. So, jump in the comment section and let me know your thoughts about that. Moving on here. So, Okay. Um, excuse me, just a second. One of I want to make sure I phrase this properly. I am a big fan of the Pirates of the Caribbean uh, film series. Um, I love the first three. Um, Look, I fully acknowledge that the original film is the best. Um, I do love the first three. I think Pirates 4 and 5 uh, were were a step down from the, but I still enjoy them. I still enjoy them. It's I think most of the reason, and this is all due respect to all the other actors in that franchise, but obviously the main appeal of those movies is Johnny Depp as Captain Jack Sparrow. Um, I think, especially with Pirates 4 and 5, I think Pirates 4 was On Stranger Tides and Pirates 5 was Dead Man Tell No Tales. Um, I think watching Johnny Depp, especially in those two movies, I think Johnny Depp, watching him as Captain Jack Sparrow was more entertaining than the movie as a whole. Um, and again, look, I enjoy 4 and 5, but I enjoy watching Johnny Depp's performance as Captain Jack Sparrow more than the movie. Like, I'll never get tired ever. I've never gotten I never got tired of watching Johnny Depp play that character. Um, Now there has been, for those who don't know, there have been rumors, reports of reinventing or continuing the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise with or without Johnny Depp. I don't know if audiences would see a Pirates of the Caribbean movie um, without Johnny Depp. And this is all due respect. Look, I loved Jeffrey Rush in those movies as Captain Barbossa. I really enjoy Orlando Bloom and Keira Knightley in those movies too, and all the character actors, like the actor who plays Gibbs. Like he's great, and Gibbs is a great character. Um, but I don't know if audiences would see a Pirates of the Caribbean movie without Johnny Depp. I don't know. Um, but there have been rumors and reports as to the continuation and or reinvention of that franchise. And without going too much into it, um, during the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial, Johnny Depp said in court that he would never return to the role of Captain Jack Sparrow, simply because of how um, Disney treated the marketing of that the Captain Jack Sparrow character after he I don't know the details I think it has something to do with the marketing and or merchandising of that character without his involvement or something. Basically, Johnny Depp said he would never return to that character, which is a shame. And he said that in court. So, regarding the rumors and reports of this franchise, there is a new development. Now, I should preface this by saying, that this report is coming from, I guess the proper term would be a Hollywood insider or a Hollywood scooper. And this particular insider has a history of sometimes the things he reports on are accurate, end up being accurate, and some of the things he reports on end up not being accurate. So I just want to throw that out there before I continue. So, this article is on CBR, published by Jamie Lovett. And basically, in the first paragraph, this article says that the next Pirates of the Caribbean movie will introduce Jack Sparrow's Captain Jack Sparrow's son as the new lead, making it a true legacy sequel. This article does go on to say that the report also suggests that in this same report that says that Captain Jack Sparrow's son will be the new lead, the same report also suggests that Christy Wilson Cairns will write the new Pirates of the Caribbean movie. Now, Christy Wilson Cairns' previous work includes a co-writing credit with Sam Mendes on the screenplay for 1917, which earned her an Academy Award nomination. Well deserved, if I may say so. Well deserved. 1917 is incredible. Now, okay, if it's gonna, now, if this report is true, who did Captain Jack Sparrow have this child with? Because we know it wasn't with Penelope Cruz's character. So that raises questions. And I don't. I understand it would be a true legacy sequel if Captain Jack Sparrow's son was the main character. I don't know about this. I just don't know. I mean, the great thing about, one of the great things about the Pirates of the Caribbean movies is that we got to see Captain Jack Sparrow's dad, played by Keith Richards, and Keith Richards was an inspiration for Johnny Depp's portrayal of Captain Jack Sparrow. I don't know if you have. I don't know how you can have the son of Captain Jack Sparrow in a Pirates of the Caribbean movie without Johnny Depp reprising or at least appearing in the movie. I don't know how you can do that. I and again, I don't know if audiences would be up for seeing a Pirates of the Caribbean movie without Johnny Depp as the main character. I mean, I would give it a shot if it's good, but I think everybody would agree that those movies, especially after the third one, went downhill. Um, I don't know about this. I just don't know. Especially again after Johnny Depp said he would never come back as the character. He said that in court. You know, and you know, and would I'll tell you what I wouldn't want to see. I wouldn't want to see if this is true. I wouldn't want to see Captain Jack Sparrow's son be a carbon copy of Captain Jack Sparrow. Like, I don't want to see his Captain Jack Sparrow's son act like Captain Jack Sparrow. I want him to be different. I don't know about this. I don't know about this. Part of me thinks that there's a big part of me. There's a big part of me that thinks that they should just not make any more Pirates of the Caribbean movies. And look, I understand that out of the five movies, a couple of them made $1 billion. I understand it's a multi-billion-dollar franchise. Part of me thinks that they should just. I mean, anybody who saw Dead Man Tell No Tales, it kind of perfectly capped off the entire franchise. And who did Captain Jack Sparrow have the child with? That's up in the air. I just don't know about this. A big part of me thinks that they should just not make any more. So I don't know. Anyway, what do you guys think about this? I mean, would you be interested in seeing a Pirates of the Caribbean movie without Johnny Depp? What do you guys think about this? Jump in the comment section and let me know your thoughts. So, this next bit of news, I am the kind of film fan. I'll watch anything. I'm a story and character person when it comes to watching movies. I don't care what genre it is. If the story and the characters are great, I'll watch it. And I've always maintained that a good romantic comedy can be a lot of fun to watch. A lot of fun to watch. And there's a new romantic comedy coming that will star two of my favorite, one of my favorite actors and one of my favorite actresses. This article is on Variety, published by Alex Rittman. This article says, Kate Hudson, currently in the Best Actress Awards race for Song Song Blue, and Oscar winner Javier Bardem are set to begin a long-distance relationship in the upcoming romantic comedy Hello in Paris. Elizabeth Chomko is set to write and direct the film. Loosely inspired by Deborah McKinley's New York Times Book Review editor's choice novel, That Part Was True. Let me see here. This article does go on to say, Hello and Paris is billed as a romantic comedy in the vein of the genre's giants such as Sleepless in Seattle, When Harry Met Sally, and You've Got Mail. After a prickly first encounter in Paris, a fiercely independent landscape architect and a crisis-ridden best-selling novelist begin a sparky transatlantic exchange over books and recipes, only to discover that the one thing harder than being alone might be choosing not to be. Okay. Let me just say this. Kate Hudson is one of my favorite actresses. You know, ever since Almost Famous. You know, I've loved her. I think unfortunately, I think most of the time the material that she's in isn't all that good. But like, what was The Skeleton Key? God, was that it? Hold on, let me check. Yeah, that was terrible. Skeleton Key. Javier Bardem. But I love Kate Hudson. What was it was Deepwater Horizon that she was in with Mark Wahlberg. I love Javier Bardem. You know, I like most people, I first saw him in No Country for Old Men. He's done a lot of different kinds of movies too. He was in Beautiful that was directed by Alfonso Cuarón. You know, he played Silva in the James Bond movie Skyfall, and he was, oh my God, he played one of the best James Bond villains ever. I love Javier Bardem. So, Hello in Paris is billed as a romantic comedy in the vein of genre's giants such as Sleepless in Seattle, When Harry Met Sally, and You've Got Mail. After a prickly first encounter in Paris, a fiercely independent landscape architect and a crisis-ridden best-selling novelist begin a sparky transatlantic exchange over books and recipes, only to discover that the one thing harder than being alone might be choosing not to be. That sounds like a retread of the three movies that this article mentions. Sleepless in Seattle, When Harry Met Sally, and You've Got Mail. This basically sounds like a carbon copy of those three films. I don't find anything unique about this synopsis. I could be wrong, but there's nothing in this synopsis that stands out to me that's as different than Sleepless in Seattle, You've Got Mail, and When Harry Met Sally. However, you know, seeing as how it's Kate Hudson and Javier Bardem, if it's good, I'll give it a shot. But at the moment, as of the reading of this article, even though it involves one of my favorite actors and one of my favorite actresses, I can't say that I'm all that interested in this movie. But I will say that if it's good, if I hear that it's good, I will see it. At least in the theater. Like, depending on how it's received, I might wait to watch it at home. But if I hear that it's good, you know, I'll give it a chance at the theater, and I'll pay my money to see it. But as of right now, this sounds incredibly like copy and paste. But, you know, I could be wrong. So jump in the comment section And let me know what you guys think about Hello in Paris. Excuse me, just a second. So this next bit of news, is eyebrow raising, at least for me. I was like, what? And in a good way. So let me give you a little background on before I get into this bit of news. So I've always considered myself a student of film history even before I went to film school. I enjoy I've always enjoyed watching older films. Well, I've always enjoyed watching older films, but when I went to film school, I started watching older films that were even older than the ones I was watching before, if that makes any sense. And you know, there's a lot of rich cinematic history that today's creators I think Leonardo DiCaprio said it best recently. He said, today's creators stand on the shoulders of giants. And I've always so when I went to film school, I took this history of film class because I wanted to learn more about the history of cinema. And and see what movies were like back then, and watch a lot of older films, like I said, and I enjoy watching older films. I love it. I love exploring cinematic history. And there one of the films that I watched, or we watched, in the history of film class was this German expressionist. It's now revered as a classic. It was this German expressionist kind of horror fantasy film that was directed by, I want to make sure I get his name right, Robert Wayne, or Ween, called The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. And it's like this horror fantasy, and it was kind of this German expressionist horror fantasy film. The best way I can put it is if you watch and it's from 1920 1920 or 21, I think 1920. And if you watch, I was actually talking about this with a coworker recently. If you watch The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, and then fast forward decades later and watch Tim Burton movies, and I'm a huge Tim Burton fan, you can see the direct influence of the design work and the design of the sets. It is very, very evident, it is extremely evident that Tim Burton took a lot of inspiration from German expressionist cinema, and the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari um, is one of those inspirations. And it's the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari is this. It's an iconic horror classic, and I've seen the film. I've watched the film quite a few times, and I love it. And there is so the reason I bring that up is there's going to be a contemporary reimagining of the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. This article is on Variety, published by Alex Rittman. Iconic horror classic The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari is getting a contemporary reimagining from the Dowdle brothers, who have tapped Michael Shannon, co-star of their Emmy-nominated Waco miniseries, to lead the project. Dr. Caligari's Cabinet of Wonders. That's going to be the title of this reimagining. Dr. Caligari's Cabinet of Wonders will be directed by John Eric Dowdle. Now, John Eric Dowdle directed No Escape and As Above, So Below. Now, John Eric Dowdle directed No Escape and As Above, So Below. And he will be directing from his own screenplay alongside his brother and producing partner Drew Dowdle. This article does go on to say the mind-bending psychological horror will star Michael Shannon from Man of Steel and Nuremberg as the titular villain Dr. Caligari, a traveling mesmerist who journeys from town to town with a sleepwalker under his control, leaving a trail of grisly murders in their wake. When a young woman's boyfriend disappears mysteriously, she believes that the enigmatic Caligari is somehow responsible. The problem is, nobody believes her. Okay, first things first. I love Michael Shannon. He's one of my favorite actors. I've talked about it before, but he played General Zod in Man of Steel. He was in Shape of Water, which was directed by Guillermo del Toro. He's got a very impressive film resume, and I believe he's got a couple Oscar nominations under his belt. He was most recently in this movie titled Nuremberg, which starred Russell Crowe and Rami Malek. I first saw him in Pearl Harbor, the Pearl Harbor movie, directed by Michael Bay. He was funny. That movie wasn't very good. John Eric Dowdle directing this movie. First of all, a contemporary reimagining of the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, titled Dr. Caligari's Cabinet of Wonders. I think, given the capabilities of today's filmmaking, I think a contemporary reimagining of this 1920 horror classic, I think it could be good. Unfortunately, I don't think, and I love Michael Shannon, Unfortunately, there is no uh, this movie is going to be directed by John Eric Dowdle, who directed No Escape and who directed No Escape, which no that he directed No Escape, which starred Pierce Brosnan and Owen Wilson. It's not very good. He also directed As Above, So Below, which is terrible. It's terrible. I think a contemporary remake of this movie could be good. But judging from John Eric Dowdle's previous directorial efforts, I don't think it will be. I think this is more suited for somebody like Guillermo del Toro. Somebody with, hell, have Tim Burton do it. That would be quite fitting. Um, if you watch the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, I don't think John Eric Dowdle. It's a kind of movie that John Eric Dowdle has not made this kind of a movie, and I think this kind of a movie is more suited for a filmmaker who brings that style of filmmaking to the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. And I don't think that John Eric Dowdle is that type of filmmaker. I could be completely wrong. I think Guillermo del Toro could do this well. I think maybe Alejandro Inarritu could do this well. Who else? Um, I think Alfonso Cuarón, who directed Roma and Gravity, could do this well. I just I don't think this is going to be any good. I don't think could be any good. Now, I could be completely wrong. I've said before, I part of you know part of the joy of being a film fan is thinking, wow, this isn't going to be any good, and then being proven entirely wrong. There's nothing that's and I love Michael Shannon. If I hear, but this sounds, I don't have any faith in this. I don't have any faith in this. There's nothing that says to me, based on John Eric Dowdle's previous efforts, there's nothing that says to me that this is going to be good. I think someone more capable of this style of film. Hell, get Tim Burton to do it again. Or, not again, but again, like I said, get Tim Burton to do it. I think that would be I think that would be kind of a full circle moment. I don't know. I think this is a really, really bad idea for a filmmaker like John Eric Dowdle to do. But we'll see what happens. Let me say this. If I hear that it's good, I will check it out. I love there are a couple movies from the 19 from those early days, like from the 1920s. There are a couple movies that I love so much, and the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari is one of them. And I love that movie, and I don't want this to be screwed up. And I think this has the based on John Eric Dowdle's previous films, I think this will be screwed up, but I could be wrong. So anyway, jump in the comment section and let me know what you guys think. What's it going to be called again? Dr. Caligari's Cabinet of Wonders. So jump in the comment section and let me know what you guys think about that. So, let me just jump over here real quick. There's more casting news regarding. So I mentioned earlier that Chiwetel Ejiofor is going to be in the Exorcist movie with Scarlett Johansson. And there's even more casting news regarding that movie, and oh my god. This article is on Variety, published by Matt Donnelly. This article says Lawrence Fishburne is joining Scarlett Johansson and Mike Flanagan for a new nightmare in the Exorcist universe. An Oscar nominee and Emmy and Tony Award winner, Fishburne boards the franchise reboot with a previously announced ensemble led by Scarlett Johansson, Jacoby Jupe, Diane Lane, and Chiwetel Ejiofor. Fishburne's role is under wraps. Oh my god. I thoroughly enjoy watching Lawrence Fishburne in anything that he's in. The Color Purple, Mystic River. There's that great line that he delivers in Mystic River. You know, he say I think he says it to Kevin Bacon's character. He says, "She doesn't want to wed you; she just wants to bed you." You know, and Lawrence Fishburne delivers that line so smoothly. You know, and obviously, The Matrix, John Wick, Apocalypse Now. He was 15 years old when he was in Apocalypse Now. That was his debut. He was 15 years old. He just has this presence, man, that there's this, like, he just owns the screen. You know what I mean? And he's wonderful. But oh my god, he's going to be in The Exorcist. And you know what? I mean, say whatever you will about the Zack Snyder Superman, Batman, DCU movies. Lawrence Fishburne as Perry White was great. He was great. And he was great in the Marvel movies, appearing in Ant-Man and the Wasp. He was so good to watch. I really enjoy watching Lawrence Fishburne. God, this is, oh my god, I cannot wait for this. I have no idea who he's gonna play. I don't even care. Like, the fact that Lawrence Fishburne, Chiwetel Ejiofor, Scarlett Johansson, Diane Lane, and Jacoby Jupe. This movie is I think this movie is gonna be awesome. This movie is gonna be awesome. So jump in the comment section and let me know what you guys think about Lawrence Fishburne joining Mike Flanagan's Exorcist movie. So, speaking of horror movies, there's an upcoming, one of my favorite actresses working right now. is an actress by the name of Rebecca Hall. Um, she was in The Town. She was in Vicky Cristina Barcelona. She was in The Prestige. She also played. She's been in a couple of the new Godzilla and Kong movies. There was this horror movie that she was in called The Night House. Which I always wanted to see. It came out during the pandemic. I heard it's great, but it didn't do very well financially. She was in The Gift in 2015 with Jason Bateman and Joel Edgerton. She was in Transcendence with Johnny Depp. That movie was terrible. She was also in Iron Man 3. As Maya Hansen. So, but she's done horror movies before. She did like The Gift and The Night House. I heard The Night House is great. Anyway, so she's going to be in this new horror movie. Hold on just a minute. Let me look something up here really quick. Okay. So Rebecca Hall is going to be in this new movie. New horror movie. This article is on Deadline, published by Andreas Weissman. Now, in addition to Rebecca Hall, there's been casting news regarding this horror movie. This article is on Deadline, published by Andreas Weissman. This article says, Lionsgate Studios has acquired worldwide distribution rights ahead of the European film market to the upcoming psychological horror film A Head Full of Ghosts, which has David Harbour, Rebecca Hall, and Esme Creed Miles in final negotiations to star. Actually, you know what? Let me skip over this because there's I wanted to talk about this at a later date. Sorry about this. I wanted to talk about this as more information because there's a lot more information regarding this movie, and I wanted to talk about it all at once, if that makes any sense. Instead of basically, there's a lot of information regarding this Head Full of Ghosts, and I wanted to talk about all at once instead of talking about it on separate episodes. So I apologize for that. Okay, so let's move on. Let me move on to this. This is what I actually wanted to. This is something that I actually did want to talk about. So there's been anybody who has listened to the show or knows me at all knows that I quite often talk about the long, sad history of video game to film adaptations. And there have been a lot of them. And a lot of them have been terrible. But some of them recently have been quite good. The Sonic the Hedgehog movies are thoroughly enjoyable. And honestly, Sonic the Hedgehog 3 that where Keanu Reeves did the voice work for Shadow. Sonic the Hedgehog 3, that movie is great. It really is great. And if you guys haven't seen it, I loved it. And there have been some other video game to film adaptations. You know, The Last of Us is doing very well. You know, so there have been a few recently that have been very good. Let's see here. So I want to make sure I get my information correct on this. Okay, so there's going to be a film adaptation of The House of the Dead. This article is on Deadline, published by Andreas Weissman. And a little, let me see here. So let me, I want to make sure. Hold on. Now, okay, so today we can break the. There's going to be another film adaptation of the House of the Dead video game, and this article on Deadline, published by Andreas Weissman. Today we can break news that The Last of Us, Superman, and Alien Romulus star Isabella Merced has been set to lead the movie adaptation of hit Sega video game franchise The House of the Dead. As we first told you a little while back, this one should be in good hands with writer-director Paul W.S. Anderson, who did big things on screen for fellow zombie franchise classic Resident Evil. Good hands? Are you sure? Are you sure it's going to be in good hands? Let me get back to that. This article does go on. First released in 1997, The House of the Dead was a fast-paced horror shooter with a groundbreaking zombie creature premise. Let's see. In the arcade game, players take on the role of AMS agents, a government agency tasked with thwarting the conspiracies of organizations that threaten the world. The title comes from the bureau they work for because their life expectancies are brief. Okay. Let me just say this first. There was previously, in 2003, a movie based on the video game The House of the Dead. It was directed by Uwe Boll, and it doesn't have anyone in it of it doesn't feature anybody. The cast doesn't feature anyone that anyone would know. Like, the cast is a bunch of nobodies, except for Clint Howard, who was Ron Howard's brother. That House of the Dead movie is absolutely terrible. It is. I cannot even express to you. It's not just like a bad video game to film adaptation. It is a terrible, terrible film. It is one of it. I would rather watch Jonah Hex or Batman and Robin than the House of the Dead, than that House of the Dead movie. That's how awful this is. Now, Paul W.S. Anderson, because this article does say Paul W.S. Anderson. This article says that he's going to produce the movie. I don't know. He is a writer director. It's this article. This article says that he is going to be a producer on the movie. I'm assuming he's going to write and direct this movie as well. Maybe I'm getting my information incorrectly, and if so, I apologize. But if he is directing this movie, I have to wholeheartedly disagree with the author of this article. When the author of this article says that this movie is in good hands. Paul W.S. Anderson directed in no particular order. Actually, in order. Let's start with the first Mortal Kombat movie in 1995. Terrible. I actually it's a guilty pleasure movie of mine, but objectively it's terrible. Event Horizon. Soldier with Kurt Russell. The first Resident Evil movie. Alien vs. Predator. Death Race in 2008. Resident Evil Afterlife in 2010. The Three Musketeers in 2011. Resident Evil Retribution. Pompeii. Resident Evil The Final Chapter. Monster Hunter. And In the Lost Lands. I would challenge anyone to go through that list and objectively tell me. I mean, the first Resident Evil movie is pretty good. It's okay. Alien vs. Predator is okay. Mortal Kombat, Event Horizon, Soldier, Resident Evil, Alien vs. Predator, Death Race, Resident Evil Afterlife, The Three Musketeers, Resident Evil Retribution, Pompeii, Resident Evil The Final Chapter, Monster Hunter, In the Lost Lands. Yes, I just threw my phone down because that's if there what would be an antonym? What would be an antonym for sparkling? If there was like this Paul W.S. Anderson is a terrible film director. I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm any better. I would challenge anybody to look at that filmography and say, and tell me that any one of those movies is objectively a good movie. And I have no reason to believe that this House of the Dead movie, based on Paul W.S. Anderson's filmography, if he is in fact writing and directing this movie, I have no reason to believe that this House of the Dead movie isn't going to be terrible. Now, let's get to Isabella Merced starring in this movie. Isabella Merced was great in Alien Romulus. She was great. You know, she was great as Hawk Girl in Superman, in the Superman movie that came out last year. I have no doubt that Isabella Merced's performance in this House of the Dead movie, I have no doubt that she is going to be good in this movie. As far as I'm concerned, the script and the direction, the tone of this movie is going to be dog shit. It will absolutely be dog shit. I do not understand how Paul W.S. Anderson keeps getting work. I do not understand it. So there we go. Now, I could be way, way off. This could end up being. Let me just get my notes together for one more bit of news here for the next thing that I want to talk about. Sorry about this. I could be completely wrong about this House of the Dead movie. I hope I am. I don't think it will be. It probably won't be. Isabella Merced, like I said, was great in Superman. She was great in Alien Romulus. And oh my God, the scene where Isabella Merced's character is holding her partner in her arms. I think her partner's name is Namora. And like the chest burster is coming, out of Namora, and Isabella Merced's character is holding her leg, and she's like, "Oh my God! Like I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. Like I don't know how to help you." That scene alone, Isabella Merced is so good in that scene, and she's great in the entire movie. But this movie's going to be terrible, and I have no reason to think otherwise. So, if again, if you look at that filmography of Paul W.S. Anderson, I would challenge anyone to tell me that any of those movies is objectively good. So it can't be. I can tell you this. The only good thing that I can say about this movie, the only good thing that I will predict, is that I will predict that it will be it can't be worse than the 2003 film. It can't be. It's impossible. That's all I got as far as positive outlook. It can't be any worse than that. So anyway, jump in the comment section and let me know what you guys think about this House of the Dead movie, if you want to. All right, so one more. This last bit of news here involves a number, or at least a couple, of my favorite actresses. I don't know what this. I love a good dark comedy. I can have, if the situation calls for it, I have a very dark sense of humor. You know, I was telling my wife recently that one of the reasons I loved Robin Williams as a comedian, in Robin Williams' stand-up comedy, there was no, like, a lot of people. I think it was Billy Crystal, because Billy Crystal and Robin Williams were good friends, and I think it was Billy Crystal who said that in stand-up comedy, there's a line that you don't cross. There are certain lines. There's a line that you don't cross because you don't know who you're going to offend. And Robin Williams, actually, maybe Robin Williams said this. Somebody said it. That there's a line in stand-up comedy that you don't cross. And Robin Williams would dance over that line. And that's one of the reasons why I loved him, is that there were no there was nothing was off limits, and there were no boundaries when it came to Robin Williams' stand-up comedy. And I love dark humor. I don't know what that says about me, but really dark senses of humor appeal to me. And there's a new dark comedy coming that involves two of my favorite actresses. This article is on Variety, published by Alex Rittman. And this article says, a quartet of stars are teaming for a buzzy British dark comedy billed as a wickedly entertaining class satire and set to be one of the hot new packages at the European film market. Excuse me. Two-time Oscar nominee Keira Knightley, Oscar winner Alicia Vikander, BAFTA nominee Jamie Dornan, and fast-rising talent Erin Kellyman have been cast in dark comedy The Worst, marking the feature directorial debut of Simon Woods. This article continues. As per the description, The Worst skewers privilege, power, and performative morality, turning an elegant couple's getaway into a hilariously disastrous night to remember. The film centers on socialite Emily Fisher, played by Alicia Vikander, and her husband Max as they invite their equally wealthy friends to their new chateau in France for the night. Among the guests are a group of people who really can't stand each other. Holly, played by Keira Knightley, a struggling diversity consultant who continuously clashes with everyone until she gets a migraine, and Danny, played by Jamie Dornan, a quick-witted talent agent that name drops his client list every chance he gets. As the evening begins to unravel and dark secrets are revealed, waitress Niam, played by Erin Kellyman, finds herself right in the middle of their chaos. And there's a statement here, I believe, from the director, Simon Woods. I want audiences to have a great time watching The Worst, to be drawn in by these vivid, over-the-top comic characters, their messy, uncomfortable relationships, and the squirm of it all. I want to dare the audience to like these people, bringing them right up to the line of almost agreeing with them, and in doing so hold a satirical mirror up to the moment we're living in, Woods said. We're building a film full of twists and turns, and there's no better dream ensemble than this one to deliver every unexpected beat. Okay. So, Erin Kellyman, she was in Solo: A Star Wars Story and 28 Years Later. And she, and she was great. She's so good in 28 Years Later. I'm a big fan of Alicia Vikander and Keira Knightley are two of my favorite actresses. I think, unfortunately, at least in my opinion, for Alicia Vikander, for the most part, the material isn't very good. I think she's a great actress, obviously. She's an Oscar winner. But I think post Oscar, after her Oscar win, the material she got wasn't very good. I love Keira Knightley. She's done obviously from Pirates of the Caribbean, but she's also done a lot of period pieces, which I think, what was the movie that she did with Benedict Cumberbatch? The Imitation Game. Keira Knightley has kind of made a name for herself doing period pieces, which I don't necessarily mind. I know that she's been the recipient of criticism because of that's what she's mainly known for. I know she's been criticized for that, but in my mind, like, if you're good at something, whether it's period pieces or what even if it's making period pieces, if you're good at something, keep doing it. Who cares if that's all you're known for? At least she's got a couple Oscar nominations. And if the material appeals to her, keep doing it. I don't care. I just love watching her. I think she's a very fine actress. Was she in Pride and Prejudice? Sometimes I get these yeah, Pride and Prejudice. Yeah, that's the one. Sometimes I get her period pieces confused. Atonement. God, she was so good in Atonement. Yeah. Yeah, so I love Alicia Vikander and Keira Knightley. Unfortunately, like I said, I think the material for that Alicia Vikander, the material that she kept getting after her Oscar win, wasn't wasn't very good. Um, Jamie Dornan was in Belfast, which was directed by Kenneth Branagh. Um, you know, he was in A Haunting in Venice, the third Kenneth Branagh Hercule Poirot movie. Um, you know, and obviously, I haven't seen them, but the 50 Shades movies, I haven't seen them, you know, but the stuff that I have seen him in, I've enjoyed him. Um, what stands out to me are obviously Keira Knightley and Alicia Vikander. Um, and like I said, I love dark comedies. Um, Now, the feature directorial debut of Simon Woods. I always, as a film fan, I love obviously watching people succeed in their careers. Um, Feature directorial debuts are kind of make or break. I mean, if your directorial debut does well and is well received, your career could take off quite easily. However, it could go the other way. So I always, as a film fan, I always get nervous about directorial debuts because it's like, as a fan, I'm like, oh God, I hope this is good because I want this director's career to take off. You know, excuse me. So I am nervous about that, but this sounds fantastic. Um, a satire, um, based a satire about um, class, like in terms of like middle class and what's the phrase I'm looking for? Um, um, that's the word. A satire about social class, a satire about um, social and economic status. I think that could be really, really funny and really that could really drive home. That could really like. I have a feeling if this is good, you could walk like we could walk out of this movie going, yeah, that movie made some pretty good points. um, I think this could be really good. It sounds good at least. I hope this movie is good. I want this director to succeed. Um, yeah, so jump in the comments section and let me know what you guys think about uh, Keira Knightley, Alicia Vikander, and Aaron Kellyman and Jamie Dornan um, um, being in this satirical dark comedy, The Worst. What do you guys think about that? All right, so that will. What did I just do? That will about do it for today. I will be back next week. Like I said, I'm going on a little staycation next week, so I will have more opportunities to do more shows and fill you guys in on what's going on in the world of entertainment. I am going to go see Crime 101 Saturday night. Uh, I've heard it's great, and I really want to see it. I'm very excited to see it. Actually, so yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this show and the previous show today, and I hope you guys continue to enjoy the show in the future. As always, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you have a comment, a question, if you'd like me to pontificate about certain movies or franchises, you can email me anytime. And that'll about do it today. And as always, I will see you at the movies.